Amanda Morgan watched her coffee mug drift lazily toward the crystalline ceiling, dark liquid forming perfect spheres in the failing artificial gravity. Around her, datapads and styluses began their own graceful ascent, creating an improvised orbital dance through the Galactic Credit Union's 157th floor. She didn't reach for any of them. Instead, she allowed herself a small smile. Everything was proceeding exactly according to plan. Through the transparent walls of the massive tower, the galactic capital's three suns painted the horizon in shades of amber and violet. The cityscape below stretched endlessly, a maze of impossibly tall structures housing the most powerful financial institution in known space. Floating advertisements in 100 alien languages promised prosperity, security, and endless credit to any species advanced enough to qualify for membership. The lies had never looked more beautiful. Warning: gravitational anomaly detected. Please secure all belongings and proceed to the nearest emergency station, the building's AI announced in its carefully calibrated, soothing tone. The same message repeated in 15 major galactic languages, each one carefully designed not to trigger panic in their respective species. Amanda's comlink chirped. Mission clock started. Jack Harrison's voice crackled through her neural implant. You've got 17 minutes before their security protocols adapt. Make it count. She stood, smoothing her perfectly tailored business suit, standard attire for a Level 7 auditor of the Galactic Credit Union. The identification chip embedded in her wrist held credentials that had taken 3 years and an unprecedented number of resources to forge. Every detail had to be perfect. The Orcs didn't achieve galactic financial dominance by being careless. Initiating Phase 1, she subvocalized, her augmented vocal cords transmitting on a frequency that bypassed standard monitoring. Around her, other employees, all carefully placed members of Operation Balance Sheet, were enacting similar scenes of confused concern. The beautiful thing about infiltrating a bureaucracy was how everyone expected you to follow procedures during an emergency. Amanda joined the orderly stream of beings heading toward the designated safe zones. She counted species as she walked. The crystalline Vexar, their faceted bodies refracting light in complex patterns. The amorphous Zol collective, flowing through the corridors in their containment suits. Even a few Marith, their feathered crests bristling with genuine anxiety. None of them knew they were participating in the greatest financial revolution in galactic history. At precisely the right moment, Amanda stumbled, a perfectly natural reaction to the fluctuating gravity. She fell against a wall panel, her fingers finding the nearly invisible seam that concealed the building's secondary data conduit. The security systems registered her touch as authorized maintenance personnel, thanks to a virus that had taken 5 years to properly cultivate in the GCU's networks. My apologies, she said to no one in particular, her other hand already connecting a quantum infiltrator disguised as a standard medical implant. These gravity fluctuations are most inconvenient. Through her neural link, she could feel the infiltrator beginning its work. The device wasn't stealing data that would have triggered alerts. Instead, it was introducing subtle variations into the GCU's base financial algorithms. Each change was mathematically sound but contained a specific flaw that would only become apparent when combined with thousands of other similar alterations being introduced throughout the building. Humanity had learned the hard way about financial system vulnerabilities. The Great Mars Colony crash of 2157, the lunar banking crisis, the belt market collapse. Each disaster had taught painful lessons about how interconnected systems could cascade into catastrophic failure. Now those same lessons would help free the galaxy from its debt chains. Phase 1 complete, she subvocalized, rejoining the crowd. Package delivered. Confirmed, Harrison replied. The Orcs just diverted 40% of their security resources to investigate the gravity fluctuations. They're looking for sabotage in all the wrong places. Amanda allowed herself another small smile as she entered the emergency shelter. The Orcs had spent millennia perfecting their system of financial control. They'd planned for every contingency, market crashes, currency manipulation, even armed rebellion. But they'd never considered that their victims might actually read and understand the very contracts they used to enslave them. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or military might. It was our intimate understanding of how systems fail. After all, who better to dismantle a predatory financial empire than a species that had survived dozens of their own economic catastrophes? The revolution wouldn't be fought with warships or armies. It would be won with algorithms, clauses, and the fine print that no one else had bothered to read. 3 days before the gravity failed, Amanda Morgan sat alone in the vast digital archives of the Galactic Credit Union, surrounded by holographic displays showing financial data streams in their raw form. The room hummed with the sound of quantum processors churning through millennia of transaction records. She hadn't slept in 36 hours, sustained only by synthetic caffeine and the burning need to prove her theory correct. "Display sequence pattern Delta 7 again," she commanded, her voice barely a whisper in the cavernous space. The central hologram shifted, showing a complex web of interconnected numbers that represented the fundamental basis of galactic credit evaluation. To most observers, it would appear as nothing more than standard risk assessment protocols. But Amanda had seen something like this before, in the wreckage of her own career. 10 years ago, she'd been the rising star of quantum economics, the architect behind Mars Colony's revolutionary mining futures market. Then came the crash. She'd spent 3 years trying to understand how her supposedly perfect system had collapsed, only to discover that the flaw wasn't in her code. It was hidden in the very foundations of how interplanetary economics worked, or rather, how it had been made to work. Cross-reference with the Vexar insolvency crisis of standard year 3157, she said, her fingers dancing through the holographic interface. New data streams appeared, their patterns eerily similar to the Mars colony crash. Now overlay the Zoll Collective's debt restructuring from 2891. The patterns aligned with mathematical precision that couldn't be coincidental. Amanda felt her heart rate spike as the implications became clear. She'd found it, the signature of intentional market manipulation, hidden so deeply in the system that it had become part of its foundation. Her neural implant chimed softly. "You're going to want to see this," Harrison's voice whispered directly into her auditory cortex. "Check your secure channel." A new data stream appeared in her peripheral vision, this one downloaded from the recently cracked archives of the First Bank of Arxos. The pattern was there too, but older, much older. It predated humanity's contact with galactic civilization by thousands of years. "They've been running the same scam since before we invented currency," Amanda muttered, her fingers trembling as she integrated the new data. "Every species that joins the Galactic Credit Union gets trapped in the same cycle. The numbers look random, but they're designed to create perpetual debt." She pulled up the original contract Earth had signed with the Arxos banking consortium. The document was massive, containing over 1 million subclauses in 17-dimensional legal text. But now, armed with proof of the underlying pattern, Amanda could finally see the trap for what it was. Section 7294, subsection lambda. She highlighted the text, which seemed to shimmer as if trying to escape attention. Look at the mathematical formula they used to calculate technology exchange rates. The equation was beautiful in its malevolent elegance. Every time a species accepted advanced technology as credit, the interest rate didn't just compound. It fractally expanded across multiple dimensions of debt. The more a civilization tried to pay it off, the more they owed. It was mathematically impossible to escape, unless you understood exactly how it worked. Amanda felt a cold smile spread across her face as she began composing a new algorithm. The Arxos had spent millennia perfecting their system, making it impossibly complex to hide its true nature, but they'd never faced a species that had survived as many financial disasters as humanity. Every market crash, every economic collapse, every bubble that had burst on Earth had taught them something vital about how complex systems could be broken. "Harrison," she sub-vocalized through her neural link, "tell the team I found our way in." The Arxos didn't just give us a predatory loan. They gave us a precise blueprint of how their entire system works, and I know exactly where to place the first crack. She began typing rapidly, her fingers flowing through the holographic interface as she wrote the code that would begin humanity's revolution. The quantum processors hummed louder, processing her commands as she translated human financial disaster experience into a weapon of mathematical precision. The Arxos had built the most complex financial trap in the galaxy's history, but they'd never considered that their victims might actually understand it better than they did. After all, who better to break a system than those who had spent generations learning exactly how systems fail? Time to show them, Amanda whispered to herself, exactly what humanity learned from our mistakes. The abandoned lunar casino's main hall still bore the faded opulence of its glory days. Holographic cards flickered weakly in the stale air, ghosts of games long forgotten. Amanda's footsteps echoed across the marble floor as she approached the group gathered around what had once been the high-stakes quantum roulette table. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, placing her quantum briefcase on the dusty felt, "welcome to Operation Balance Sheet." The assembled team was unlike any heist crew in human history. Dr. Elena Santos, former head of quantum encryption at the NSA, her silver hair tied back in a severe bun. Marcus Webb, the legendary ghost trader who'd managed to hack the new Shanghai exchange without leaving a single trace. Commander Sarah Phillips, whose Special Forces team had acquired an Arxos trading vessel in what officially never happened. And Jack Harrison, looking decidedly uncomfortable in his formal business attire, still favoring his right leg from the injury he'd sustained stealing the Arxos security codes. The gravity disruption was just the beginning. Amanda continued, activating a holographic display from her briefcase. "We now have proof that the entire galactic economy is built on mathematically enforced fraud. But more importantly, we have their source code." The hologram showed layers upon layers of financial algorithms, each one more complex than the last. The Arxos didn't just create a predatory lending system. They built an artificial intelligence dedicated to ensuring no species could ever escape debt. Every transaction, every credit transfer, every loan payment feeds into their network. "And we're going to poison it," Elena said, her fingers already dancing through the code. "These patterns, they're similar to the quantum encryption the Chinese tried to use during the digital currency wars." Marcus nodded, his cybernetic eye whirring as it analyzed the data. The same fundamental flaw. They assumed complexity equals security. Never considered someone might understand their system better than they do. Commander Phillips stepped forward, her military bearing at odds with the decrepit casino setting. "My team has mapped every security response protocol in their network. They're predictable. They always respond to direct threats the same way. But they've never faced an indirect attack through their own financial systems. Because they've never encountered a species that turned economic disasters into an art form." Amanda smiled. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our military might. It's our intimate familiarity with failure." She expanded the hologram, showing the entire galactic financial network. "Every market crash we've survived, every bubble that's burst, every economic crisis we've endured, they've all taught us something vital about how complex systems can be broken. The Arxos built their empire on the assumption that mathematics is perfect. They forgot that humans are really good at finding exceptions to rules." Harrison pulled up his own data stream, showing the results of their initial gravity disruption test. The system's already destabilized. Their security forces are focused on physical threats, looking for bombs or sabotage. They haven't even considered that their own trading algorithms could be turned against them. Because they've never experienced a short squeeze, or a flash crash, or a good old-fashioned bank run, Marcus grinned. They built safeguards against violent revolution, not financial engineering. Amanda placed her hand on the holographic representation of the galactic core, where the main Arxos banking hub pulsed with artificial life. "In 48 hours, we launched the main attack. Elena's team will introduce quantum uncertainty into their trading algorithms. Marcus's programs will create cascading feedback loops in their automated systems. Commander Phillips' team will ensure our physical access points remain secure. She looked at each member of her unlikely crew, seeing in their eyes the same determination that had driven humanity to survive every economic catastrophe in their history. The Orcs think they've enslaved us with debt, but they gave us something far more dangerous than they realized: complete access to their financial systems and a very human understanding of how everything can go wrong. What's our window of opportunity? Commander Phillips asked, already planning deployment routes. 3 hours, Amanda replied. That's how long it will take their AI to detect the pattern once we begin. But by then, it won't matter. The cascade effect will be unstoppable. They're about to learn why you should never trap a species that invented both derivatives trading and bankruptcy courts. The holographic cards continued their endless game behind them, unaware that the greatest gamble in human history was about to begin. The first sign that something had gone catastrophically wrong in the Galactic credit union systems came from an unlikely source: a small Vexar mining colony on the Outer Rim. Their entire sector's debt, accumulated over 3 centuries of predatory lending, suddenly transformed into credit during a routine daily calculation. Amanda watched the ripple effect spread across her holographic display aboard Harrison's stealth ship, currently hidden in the shadow of a communication relay satellite. The numbers flowed like a digital tsunami, each wave carrying fragments of the Orcs' carefully constructed financial empire away with it. Sector 7's algorithms are compromised, Elena reported from her station, her fingers dancing across quantum interfaces. Their automated systems are trying to correct the error exactly as predicted. Marcus, you're up. Marcus's cybernetic eye glowed as he interfaced directly with their attack software. Initiating Protocol Layman, he said, naming their virus after one of Earth's most infamous financial collapses. Let's show them what a real market crash looks like. On the main display, red warning indicators began blossoming across the galactic map. The Orcs' high-speed trading systems, designed to automatically correct any market irregularities, were now working against them. Each attempted correction amplified the effect of Amanda's carefully crafted mathematical flaws. They're responding, Commander Phillips announced from the bridge. 3 Orcs' enforcement vessels just dropped out of hyperspace in Sector 7. They're attempting to physically quarantine the banking nodes. Amanda allowed herself a small smile. Too late. The contagion is already in their system. Harrison, show them what we learned from the cryptocurrency wars. Harrison's hands flew across his console, deploying the next phase of their attack, launching quantum blockchain disruptors. These babies are based on the same code that crashed the universal digital currency back in '62. The Orcs never experienced that particular disaster. They are about to learn why proper blockchain validation is important. The effect was immediate and devastating. Across the galaxy, automated banking systems began generating conflicting transaction records. The Orcs' precious financial algorithms, trying desperately to reconcile the impossibilities, started spawning recursive errors that multiplied exponentially. First domino down, Elena announced with professional satisfaction. Their quantum encryption is fracturing exactly like it did during our test runs. The beauty of it is, they can't shut down the system to stop it. Too many civilizations depend on it running continuously. Through the ship's observation window, Amanda watched as the massive space station housing the sector's main banking hub began flickering with emergency lights. The Orcs had built their financial empire on the assumption that mathematics was immutable, perfect. They'd never considered that humans would find a way to weaponize uncertainty itself. Multiple distress calls detected, Commander Phillips reported. The Zol Collective just discovered they've been systematically overcharged for the last millennium. The Murith banking clans are demanding immediate audits. It's spreading faster than the Orcs can contain it. On her private screen, Amanda watched the code she'd spent years perfecting do its work. The virus wasn't just destroying debt records, it was exposing the fundamental fraud built into the system. Each error cascade revealed another layer of the Orcs' deception, broadcasting proof of their crimes to every species they'd enslaved. They're attempting to activate their quantum firewalls, Marcus warned, his cybernetic eye pulsing rapidly. But they're using outdated protocols. They never upgraded their security because no one had ever managed to breach it before. No one ever had 3,000 years of human financial disasters to learn from, Amanda replied. Every market crash, every economic meltdown, every failed currency, they all taught us something vital about how systems break. Upload protocol depression next. As Harrison's ship glided silently through space, Amanda thought about all the civilizations about to be freed from their artificial debt. The Orcs had spent millennia building the perfect financial trap, never realizing they were actually creating the perfect weapon for someone who knew exactly how everything could go wrong. "Sir," Commander Phillips called out, "we're getting reports of spontaneous debt jubilees occurring in 12 more sectors. The revolution has officially gone viral." Amanda nodded, watching the cascade of freedom spread across the stars. Time to move to Phase 2. Let's show them what happens when you give unlimited credit to a species that invented the concept of bankruptcy. The Orcs' High Command Center erupted in chaos as emergency alerts flashed across every holographic display. First, Archon Kextel's crystalline form pulsed with rage induced bioluminescence as he watched his species' financial empire crumble in real time. "Impossible," he hissed through his translator. "No primitive species could have penetrated our quantum encryption. These humans are nothing more than barely evolved primates who still use physical currency." But the evidence streaming across his displays told a different story. Sector after sector reported catastrophic system failures, each one following a pattern that seemed hauntingly familiar to the Orcs' top financial analysts. "Sir," his chief security officer reported, "we've identified the attack signature. They're using our own high-speed trading algorithms against us, but modified with some kind of chaos theory we've never seen before." Aboard Harrison's stealth ship, Amanda watched the Orcs' response through their compromised security feeds. "They're finally realizing what they're up against," she said, her fingers dancing across her holographic interface. "Elena, they're about to deploy their primary defense grid. Ready for Protocol Glass-Steagall." Elena's quantum processors hummed as she prepared their countermeasure. "Remember the secondary bank crisis of 2159? We're about to recreate it on a galactic scale." The Orcs' defense grid activated, a massive network of quantum computers designed to isolate and eliminate any threat to their financial system. But as soon as it engaged, Marcus's specialized virus began its work. They made the same mistake every overconfident system makes. Marcus grinned, his cybernetic eye wearing as he tracked the infection spread. They assumed their security was perfect because it had never failed before. They never tested it against someone who specializes in failure. On the main display, Amanda watched as the defense grid began experiencing the same cascading errors that had destroyed Earth's digital banking system during the quantum computing revolution. The Orcs had built safeguards against every form of attack they knew, but they'd never experienced a good old-fashioned bank run combined with high-frequency trading glitches. Multiple breaches detected in their secondary firewalls, Commander Phillips reported. Their emergency protocols are activating exactly as predicted. "Harrison, time to show them what we learned from the Bitcoin wars." Harrison's hands flew across his console, deploying a specially crafted package of corrupted blockchain data. "You know what's beautiful?" They're so convinced of their superiority, they'd programmed their system to automatically absorb and integrate any new financial technologies it encounters. They're literally downloading their own destruction. In the Orcs' command center, First Archon Kextel watched in horror as his species' carefully constructed financial web began to unravel. "Shut it down," he ordered. "Shut down the entire network." "Sir," his chief technician's crystalline form trembled. "We can't. The humans, they've integrated their attacks so deeply into our basic operating protocols that if we shut down the network, we'll lose control of every financial transaction in the galaxy. Trillions in assets would simply..." vanish. Then initiate the Omega Protocol, Kextal commanded. Better to destroy the system than let these primitives corrupt it. But when they tried to activate their ultimate failsafe, nothing happened. Instead, every screen in the command center began displaying the same message, repeating in every galactic language. "Thank you for accepting our terms of service update." Amanda smiled as she watched the Arxos leadership panic. They never read the fine print in their own user agreement protocols. "We didn't hack their system. We legally acquired it through their automated contract update system. The same one they used to enslave countless species." "Sir," Commander Phillips called out, "we're detecting massive fleet movements. The Arxos are mobilizing their enforcement armada." "Let them come," Amanda replied calmly. "They still think this is a conventional attack. They haven't realized that we've already won. When their ships arrive, they'll find their own banking protocols have already transferred command authority to their former victims." The stars outside their viewport blazed as the revolution spread across the galaxy, not with weapons of mass destruction, but with the most devastating force humans had ever mastered. The power to crash a market so thoroughly that no one could ever rebuild it the same way again. The Mercury communication hub blazed with unprecedented activity, its crystalline spires pulsing with data streams from across the galaxy. Amanda stood before the gathered representatives of 17 formerly indebted species, her holographic presentation showing the true extent of the Arxos financial manipulation. "For millennia, they've used mathematics as chains," she explained, expanding a complex three-dimensional model of the debt structure. "But mathematics can also be the key to those chains. We're not just freeing ourselves. We're teaching you how to free yourselves." The Vexar ambassadors' crystalline form sparkled with excitement as their quantum processors integrated the information. "These patterns, they're identical to the algorithms that have kept our mining colonies in perpetual debt for centuries." "Exactly." Elena stepped forward, her quantum tablet projecting additional data streams. "The Arxos used the same basic code structure for every species they enslaved. They never imagined anyone would decode it, let alone find a way to reverse it." Through the hub's vast observation windows, they could see the Arxos enforcement fleet holding position at the system's edge. The once mighty armada now hung powerless, their command protocols locked by their own banking systems. "The Zul Collective stands ready," the amorphous Zul representative rippled with determination. "Our quantum networks have already begun implementing the human protocols. We calculate a 99.97% success rate in debt reversal." Harrison's voice crackled through Amanda's neural link. "Multiple outbreaks of financial freedom detected in the Outer Rim. The Mureth banking clans have just declared independence from the Arxos system. They're using our modified blockchain technology to establish their own decentralized economy." On the main display, sectors of the galaxy began lighting up as more civilizations adopted the human-designed countermeasures. Each flash represented another species breaking free from centuries of calculated oppression. "Your species truly understands the art of systematic collapse," the Mercury Elder observed, their bioluminescent patterns shifting with admiration. "Each financial disaster in your history became a lesson, each market crash a weapon in waiting." Amanda nodded, remembering the countless hours spent studying Earth's economic catastrophes. "We learned the hard way that no system is too big to fail." The Arxos built their empire on the assumption that more complexity meant more security. They never considered that complexity could be turned against them. "Multiple Arxos banking hubs are going dark," Marcus reported through the shared neural network. "Their attempts to contain the damage are actually accelerating the spread." Commander Phillips' team just confirmed 3 more sectors have successfully implemented the Great Depression Protocol. The assembled representatives watched in awe as their debt chains shattered one by one. The Vexar's crystalline forms resonated with joy as centuries of compound interest evaporated. The Zul Collective pulsed with newfound freedom as their generational debt disappeared. "But what prevents this from happening again?" The Mureth representative growled, their feathers bristling with concern. "What stops another species from building a similar trap?" Amanda smiled, initiating the final phase of their plan. Because we're not just destroying their system, we're replacing it. Humanity's gift to the galaxy isn't just freedom from debt. It's the knowledge of how financial systems can fail and how to build better ones. Alina's quantum tablet projected a new model, a decentralized financial network built on transparency and actual value rather than predatory algorithms. We call it the Phoenix Protocol, she explained, because it rises from the ashes of the old system. Through her neural link, Amanda could feel the revolution spreading faster than even they had predicted. Species after species adopted their countermeasures, each success making the next one easier. The Orcs' perfect mathematical prison was crumbling, undone by the very complexity they had used to build it. "Sir," Harrison's voice held a note of triumph, "the Orcs' central bank just went offline. Their entire economic control system is collapsing. The revolution has achieved critical mass." Amanda looked out at the assembled representatives, seeing in their varied forms the same determination that had driven humanity to survive every financial disaster in their history. "The Orcs thought they could enslave the galaxy with debt," she declared. "Instead, they gave us the tools to set everyone free. The revolution wouldn't be won with warships or armies. It would be won with spreadsheets, algorithms, and the accumulated wisdom of every economic catastrophe humanity had ever endured and survived." The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Credit Union fell silent as First Archon Kextal's hologram materialized before the assembled representatives. His crystalline form pulsed with barely contained rage, each facet reflecting the emergency lights that still flashed throughout the facility. "You primitives have no idea what you've done." His voice resonated through the chamber. "Our system maintained stability for 50,000 years. Without it, the galaxy will collapse into economic chaos." Amanda stepped forward, her quantum tablet displaying real-time data streams from across known space. "You mean like the chaos of the Mars colony crash, or the digital currency wars, or perhaps the Great Depression?" She smiled. "We're intimately familiar with economic chaos, First Archon. The difference is, we learned from it. The Orcs' banking consortium controls 97% of all galactic wealth." Kextal's form grew larger, threatening. "If you force us to activate our failsafe protocols, we'll destroy everything. Every credit, every account, every transaction record, all of it will vanish." Harrison's voice whispered through Amanda's neural link. "He's bluffing. The latest scan shows they've lost access to 60% of their command nodes. Alina's quantum worms are already inside their failsafe systems." "An impressive threat," Amanda replied calmly. "But there's something you should know about human financial history, First Archon. We've survived total system collapses before. In fact, we've gotten quite good at it." She gestured, and the chamber's holographic displays came alive with data. "While you were focusing on our attacks on your digital systems, we were executing something far more important. Commander Phillips." The commander's voice echoed through the chamber. "Operation Clean Sweep complete. All physical assets have been redistributed according to the Phoenix Protocol. The real wealth, the resources, the technology, the actual valuable things your credit system was built on, they've all been transferred to their rightful owners." Kextal's hologram flickered as he received the report. For the first time in recorded history, an Orcs showed fear. "Impossible. Our security was designed to prevent violent theft." Marcus cut in, his cybernetic eye glowing as he processed the incoming data. "But we didn't steal anything. We simply use your own automated trading systems to execute perfectly legal transfers. You really should have read the fine print in those emergency protocols you enacted." Alina's quantum processors hummed as she displayed the execution logs. "Every transaction was properly authenticated using your own systems. Technically, you authorized all of it. We just help your algorithms reach the correct conclusions about rightful ownership." The chamber erupted in celebrations as species after species received confirmation of their restored wealth. The Vexar's mining colonies, the Zol Collective's manufacturing hubs, the Mareth trading posts. all returned to their original owners through a maze of perfectly legitimate transactions. You still don't understand what you've done, Kex told Rage. Without our system, without your system, the galaxy will adapt. Amanda interrupted. Just like humanity adapted after every financial disaster in our history. Yes, there will be chaos. Yes, there will be destruction. But we're giving every species something you never did. The knowledge of how to rebuild better. She activated her final program, and the chamber filled with new holographic displays. This is the Phoenix Protocol, a financial system built on transparency and actual value, not predatory algorithms. The mathematics are open source. The code is freely available. Every species will have equal access and equal protection. And if we refuse to participate, Kextal's hologram loomed larger. Amanda smiled. Then you'll be choosing to isolate yourselves from the largest free market in galactic history. But somehow, I don't think your shareholders will approve of that decision. Speaking of which, the chamber's doors opened, revealing a delegation of Arxaw's financial directors. Their crystalline forms pulsed with the unmistakable patterns of profit calculations. Your own board has already voted, Harrison announced triumphantly. They've accepted the terms of the new system. Turns out, even the Arxos understand the concept of cutting their losses. Kextal's hologram shattered into 1,000 points of light as his connection was terminated. The assembled species turned to Amanda, their various forms expressing joy and determination in a dozen different ways. The hard part begins now, she warned them. Freedom from debt is just the first step. Building something better. That's the real challenge. But looking at the united species before her, Amanda knew they were ready. After all, who better to build a stable financial future than those who had learned every possible way things could go wrong? 1 year after the fall of the Arxos banking consortium, Amanda Morgan stood in the newly constructed Chamber of Economic Harmony, watching representatives from 100 species work together at quantum terminals. The vast space, built from crystalline alloys contributed by the Vexar and powered by Zol collective energy cores, hummed with the sound of a new financial order taking shape. The latest stability reports just came in, Harrison said, approaching with his quantum tablet. His limp had finally healed, though he still carried the memory of their revolution in his stride. The Phoenix Protocol has successfully processed its billionth transaction. 0 irregularities detected. Amanda nodded, watching the massive holographic display that dominated the chamber center. It showed real-time financial flows across the galaxy, each stream representing thousands of transparent, verifiable transactions. The mathematical beauty of it almost brought tears to her eyes. To think, Alina said, joining them at the observation platform. We built all this from the lessons of our failures. Every market crash, every economic disaster, every financial catastrophe, they all became blueprints for something better. The chamber's doors whispered open as Marcus entered, his cybernetic eye whirring as it processed the data streams. The Murith banking clans just completed their integration with the new system. Their entire financial infrastructure is now running on our open-source protocols. And the Arxos? Amanda asked, though she already knew the answer. Harrison smiled, still attending their mandatory financial ethics classes. Commander Phillips reports they're actually starting to understand the concept of sustainable growth over predatory lending. Some of their younger economists are even proposing reforms to their own system. Below them, representatives from formerly enslaved species worked side by side with human financial experts. They were building something unprecedented, a galactic economy based on cooperation rather than exploitation, on shared knowledge rather than hoarded secrets. We've received another wave of applications for the Economic Recovery Program, Alina reported, her quantum processors displaying the statistics. 17 more species requesting access to our financial disaster simulation training. Amanda couldn't help but laugh at the irony. Earth's history of economic catastrophes, once a source of shame, had become the galaxy's most valuable educational resource. Species lined up to learn from humanity's mistakes, to understand how markets could fail and how to prevent those failures. The latest update to the Phoenix Protocol just went live, Marcus added. The Vexar's quantum computing division helped us implement those failsafes we modeled on the Bitcoin crash of '59. No one will ever be able to accumulate the kind of systemic control the Orcs had. Through the chamber's vast windows, Amanda could see ships from across the galaxy docking at the station. Each one carried representatives eager to learn, to trade, to participate in an economy where transparency wasn't just a buzzword, but a fundamental law written into the mathematics itself. Commander Phillips sent her weekly report, Harrison said, pulling up the secure transmission. The transition teams have successfully converted 97% of the old Orcs' banking infrastructure. Their former enforcement fleet is being repurposed as a rapid response force for natural disasters and humanitarian crises. Amanda walked to the edge of the platform, looking down at the bustling chamber floor. She saw Vexar crystalline forms working alongside Zol collective members, their combined expertise creating new financial instruments designed to help rather than harm. Mareth traders shared risk assessment techniques with young Orcs students, teaching them how to build wealth without exploiting others. You know what the best part is? Elena said softly. We didn't just break their system. We built something that makes their system obsolete. No one would choose to go back to the old way, not even the Orcs themselves. The massive display shifted, showing the day's economic headlines from across known space. Markets were stable, trade was flourishing, and species that had been enemies under the old system were now economic partners. Humanity's greatest achievement, Amanda mused, wasn't surviving our financial disasters. It was learning from them. And now the whole galaxy gets to benefit from those lessons. As the three suns set outside the station's windows, painting the chamber in shades of hope, Amanda thought about all the species now free to forge their own economic destinies. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or military might. It was the wisdom earned through failure, and the determination to build something better from the ashes of collapse.